Welcome to Journey Now, a podcast about following Jesus that takes on serious issues without ever taking itself too seriously. Each week, the pastors, staff, and friends of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee, gather to catch up, share life together, and laugh a little. Okay, a lot. Maybe too much. But along the way, they also explore what it really means to bring heaven to earth, share Jesus' hospitality, and live cross-shaped lives. Part babble, part Bible, and occasionally even thoughtful and entertaining, this is Journey Now.
No, it's just three of us. Well, welcome.
Are we not enough for you?
Yeah. Welcome.
Suzie just right before Kevin started, she
Yeah.
just said, "Do we have a guest coming today?" Like she was disappointed with the
three
two
of us.
clowns
You guys are
in the
a
room.
little bit low energy today.
Just,
That's all I'm
I
gonna
do
say.
think we need to acknowledge what Tim Timmons is doing out in California, just real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As he is a cancer survivor, and they putting on what was it, a retreat? Is it a conference? Is it a?
It's a retreat for cancer survivors.
That's what I thought, a retreat. Yeah, and so out in San Diego, what a wonderful idea, and I hope and pray that it's going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Susie's bummed.
yes, because Tim's not here.
I'm always bummed when Tim's not here.
Yeah, Tim's always
Not here.
a jolt.
And when Susie's
But
bummed.
you guys are like so chill. You're sitting here after your pickleball game, like
Yeah.
you're tired or something.
No.
Well, what do you got today, Suze? What do you got? What's firing you up?
Yeah. What's on?
You bring a good question.
I mean, you did
I
what do you got?
actually come
You
here
did
on
a wedding
Tuesdays
to
expecting
end
you to fire me up.
this weekend. This weekend, you did a wedding to end all weddings
I did. It
for a
was
friend.
Really great.
So
Yeah.
no more what? So we can call off the second coming. We nailed it.
Yes,
On
it's
what?
over.
No more weddings.
No more weddings.
We did.
This
we
is it.
achieved.
Yep.
We achieved the.
No.
Nirvana.
So how? Okay. What were the comments like on your outfit?
Oh, here we go.
Because I've seen pictures of the bride and groom, but I don't care about them. I wanted to see pictures of you in whatever you were styling.
She went blue.
I went blue. I didn't get any specific comments on my outfit, but I was told that I looked nice. So
That seems.
Yeah.
So that could be a hair comment. That could be a.
But I wore a navy blue dress.
Yeah.
It matched John's navy blue suit.
Could
You
be
know,
a
it
hair
felt very
comment.
officianty.
Yeah.
The only thing is the dress
Yeah.
didn't have pockets, which would have been really helpful for my Kleenex.
Oh, yeah. Pockets are nice.
Oh wow.
But that's okay.
That's a nice thing about a suit jacket. It has lots of
I know.
pockets.
I know.
Should have wore a suit.
Nah.
Not your
Okay.
style.
Okay.
No.
So the official word is you looked nice.
Yeah.
And the wedding was great.
The wedding was phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you? Do you watch the Olympics?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go.
Oh, here we go.
Suzie, bring something. All right.
What was your favorite part?
Yeah. Favorite part of the Olympics for you?
Of the Olympics or the wedding? Did we really move on to the Olympics?
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
I'm done with the wedding.
Yeah.
All I cared
I
about.
thought you were going to ask
all
me
I
to
cared
medal
about-
the wedding. Like I was prepared to tell you it was gold. But okay.
Okay.
The Olympics, gymnastics.
So
I was all in with Simone Biles.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Kev, do you watch?
I did.
Yeah.
The basketball was my favorite
Oh
part.
yeah, basketball was also really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that with the
It was competitive. I was hoping it would be competitive, and it was.
The men's or women's or both?
Both.
Yeah.
The finals were spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
The breakdancing was disappointing.
I did not watch any of that. I just watched some memes.
I feel like
I watched the beginning of it and I was like, this is lame. And then I missed the whole meme situation.
Yes,
Rob
which
had
was-
to bring me up to speed yesterday.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
all I know is
And I was disappointed that our high jumper came in for the silver. They tied. Did you hear about this? And then they tied at the end. Like they cleared the same one. Then they both had 3 misses on the next level.
Are you talking about the pole vaulter?
Nope. High jumping.
Oh.
no. That's what you covered last week,
Okay.
Suzie. Get your
No.
Good Lord.
We're
Gosh.
back to the.
Oh, we're back to the pole vault.
No.
Well, it's interesting because Kevin marched in saying, "Hey, they're working our pole out there," and
They are.
Yeah, but explain the context.
Some drunk driver came in and hit one of our light poles, and so we thought it was going to take forever to get it replaced. But they showed up today, and they're working the pole.
Yeah,
it's great.
exactly. So anyway, Kevin and Suzie are
the high
focused
jumper.
elsewhere. Yes,
the high jumper,
not the pole vaulter.
They can
Wow.
they get together, the two competitors,
Yeah.
and they decide whether they want to both get golds, share it,
Oh,
or
what does that mean?
have a jump off.
you both get golds. Like
Yeah.
you literally.
Because they tied?
They tied.
I know, but you do you share one gold?
No.
Or you each
They
get a gold?
both would get one, and then there would only be a bronze. There would be no silver.
Oh. Why would you do that?
Well, they didn't.
Oh.
So they had to jump off?
They had to jump off.
You know what?
The
I
other
did
guy
that
won.
in junior high. Those are scary.
Jump offs are scary.
Anyway,
Yes.
how did it end up?
Yeah, the other guy won. I was disappointed. He was fired up. Like he was like, I got this.
Oh, okay.
Because he was like,
Yeah, the adrenaline's going.
yeah,
Okay.
not so much.
Did you have House of Pain playing when you had your jump off?
So good. So good. Just
Nice.
right now.
That's pretty good.
Gen Xers unite. Okay, that's
And
all I got. Susie,
baby
you didn't bring
boomers,
much.
baby boomers
Wow.
revolt.
Thanks.
I mean,
I mean, you're sitting there with your Bible open today, which is
I'm
like
ready.
something that never happens on this podcast. So I feel like I'm just sitting here on my best behavior waiting for the word to come.
let's just be
Like
honest.
Ouch.
it just changes the vibe in the room a
Did
little
she
bit.
just
Like I'm
say
just
that
like
we never
preparing
opened the Bible on this
on
podcast?
this podcast.
Yeah.
We don't sit here
my
generally
word.
speaking with a Bible open.
We've quoted
And
the
Mike has
Bible at least
well,
twice,
yeah,
right,
but
Mike?
Mike is actually
At least.
sitting
At least
here
twice.
with
In
his
the 3
Bible
years.
open.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm just like waiting for a rebuke or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I feel.
I do
Yeah.
not permit women to teach or exercise authority over men.
Oh, are you in First Timothy there?
Oh,
That's funny.
Nope.
Talked about nope. We're in Luke because they're now we have to
Luke.
specify which Bible because
Yes,
Edwin,
it has
our
the
faithful,
Bourbon Bible is.
has the Bourbon Bible. He placed it here. Edwin, unbeknownst to us,
Big
has
word
been
day.
switching up the library
Big
that we're
word
showing
day.
off, and so he
Unbeknownst.
snuck in the Bourbon Bible.
Yeah.
You've been asked. People
No.
have noticed this.
No.
All right, Brad, have you been noticing? This
Brad.
is the Bourbon Bible. So let's quote just very quickly.
From the Bourbon
Or
Bible.
Davey. Davey, I heard, is a
Oh, yes.
a listener every week too.
Davey.
So Davey might
Come
know
on,
about
Davey.
the
Okay,
Bourbon
Davey.
Bible.
Have you noticed the change in
Johnny
the books?
Drum Private Stock Bourbon was a sourced bourbon that in 2012 carried a 15-year age statement.
Oh, statement.
Yeah, Susie carries an age statement too. In 2016, Private Stock dropped
respect.
its age statement. And while it comes out of the Willett Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, it's
I've been
unclear
there. I've been there.
if any of Willett's distilled bourbon is still in the bottle. So there's a little chart that tells me about this. Strength
you love
50.5%. Back at me. The mash bill is undisclosed. All right, so I don't know what that means. The still
Do you
type.
know what any of this
Nope.
means that you're reading?
I understand the individual words.
You should stick with the Bible.
The age statement, NAS, which stands for none of your damn business. That's Susie's age statement right there.
That's right.
The
None of your
distillery,
business.
the
None of your
distillery
business.
is undisclosed. Guys, this is very secretive. Kentucky Bourbon Distillers is the brand owner and price range $$ but drinking recommendation is only 1 martini glass.
Okay.
So I guess that seems pretty low. So
Is
Edwin,
that-
would you
that's
agree
pretty
this
low?
is crap?
Low.
What is Mashbill?
Oh,
Because I'd love to give somebody a Mashbill sometime. Yeah. You're going to text it to me right now. So
it
we
has
can
to
read
do
it.
with the.
Should probably go in the show notes too now.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the Bourbon Bible, the complete lowdown on the spirit of America.
Oh yes.
Oh, where at least I know I'm free.
There you go.
40 bourbons tried and tested, and there's not one right for me. Includes bourbon cocktail recipes. So
One,
here
two.
we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Makes
Bourbon
you
Bible.
want to
Is that-
stand up.
Yes, and then fall down. 53% proof.
Over and over
Here
again.
we go. Pappy Van Winkle's
Oh.
Family Reserve Kentucky Straight
That's a
Bourbon
really
Whiskey.
good one.
Pappy's is good.
That's
Is it?
like a
Yeah.
really hard
All
to
right.
find one.
Okay, so let me ask you. You said
You said.
that bourbon and whiskey are two different things.
Yeah.
This is called Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So what's that, my friends?
Basically how it's made.
Yeah.
Like
The mash is
mash
filtered
bill,
through.
Filtered. It's called like hearing.
Okay,
hearing
no.
Okay, whoa.
Let me tell you what the mash. It's Buffalo Trace weeded mash.
Ooh, there it is. Buffalo Trace.
Oh, okay. So one of the things I didn't realize in
So there's
moving,
traces of buffalo
that's how it's sounding.
in the whiskey.
So Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives,
Here we
and his
go.
disciples followed him.
There's probably a Mashbill in olive oil too, right?
I don't know. I don't even know
Isn't
what
that
you're talking
mashed
about.
olives?
Let me tell you, I'm from the Midwest. The only thing we mash are potatoes, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, mashed potatoes,
That's a
mashed
good
corn, right? That's what we
Ooh.
do. Cream corn. Did you ever have that growing up?
I really love cream corn.
Oh.
I
You
did
do
not
know that
have it growing up.
Brad,
but
it's
made
I
out of corn,
really
right?
love it.
What is?
Like a can of cream
Whiskey.
corn is
Whiskey's
so yummy.
corn?
Yeah, some rye or corn.
What's
That's what mash does.
Okay.
It just depends
Yeah.
on
Depends
So mash
upon what's
is what
in
the
mash.
ingredient is?
It's what's fermented. Yeah.
Okay. There's a way to measure the success of podcasts. One of the measures that you use is how far into the podcast people listen.
You do have to smash grapes too to make one.
I think we have dramatically decreased. But I didn't want Susie to be intimidated by the Bible.
Okay.
So the fact that the Bourbon Bible was here, I thought was just a nice counterpoint.
Kind of.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
when Paul
Yeah.
says,
Do you memorize verses out of the Bourbon Bible
well, I didn't know buffalo mash was a thing. I'm going to ask for it.
by name?
By name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in all
What's the
seriousness,
mash,
just
buddy?
one more question. And I'm not familiar with this. I love Coors Light, which is made of sunshine.
Sunshine.
And in the mountains, sunshine and snow.
There it is.
And but
It's cold.
So what is the
cold
mash?
filtered?
What does mash mean?
It's the stuff that they grind up and put into the what are those called?
Vats.
Fermenting vats.
Okay.
And it's a mash. It's like literally you look at it and go, oh. And if you put your nose to it,
Yeah.
you get a nice.
It's the stuff we smelled when we were walking through the distillery.
Right. Just for those of you new to Journey Church, at staff retreat, we went to George Dickel's distillery. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, or Cascade Hollow.
Yes, but Susie kept calling it George Dickel.
Because that's what it was originally called.
It was shortly after the death march.
And you made a thing out of it.
It was shortly after the death march through the woods.
Oh, that's right. We've covered
Oh
that.
my goodness.
So,
You guys plan your own staff retreat.
we did pickleball last time, which was
Oh.
awesome. And Susie crushed. Dude, you talk about mash?
I forgot we
Dude,
did.
Susie P. Lind crushed on the pickles. There's no doubt about that.
Big surprise.
No,
Big surprise
no one was
to me.
surprised.
I was.
No one was surprised. Oh, mashed ingredients. Oh, this. Okay,
Here we go.
On Coors Light.
Of course, like
Oh, this is a lot. I can't read all of this, but I'm going to read this during staff meeting. Okay.
that'll help. That'll be a great staff meeting.
So we're in
A series.
Yep, called the Misfits, politics. And when I've talked to several people who are not part of our church, but who are involved in churches.
Oh.
And they're just very surprised.
Are you
at
allowed?
some of the things? I know. I listen.
Okay.
It's on my Chindle profile.
Oh.
Chinder.
Chinder.
Church Tinder.
Church
It's for
Tinder.
pastors. It's how pastors date churches.
Oh.
So
Nice.
yeah.
How do you get that app? Is it on the App Store?
No.
You got to get it from a church, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be invited. Anyway,
I got
We
that.
don't need any pastors on any app.
Chindle.
yeah, that's
We're
very
trying
true.
not
That's
to be
very
in a
true.
documentary.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
That's our goal.
What's your vision for the next 10
To
years?
not be in a documentary.
Yep. So far,
I got to remember this.
yeah, it's a low bar.
knocking on wood.
It's a low bar.
Chindle.
So
I'm going to remember Chindle.
when
That's so good.
Hey, Brad, are you on Chindle?
Brad, yeah,
Okay, so what did you find out?
the kind of conversations that
love.
we're having in our community are very surprising to
Right.
people in other church communities,
For
and I'm
sure.
just really delighted that we're able to talk about some of the things that we're talking about. So,
We're avoiding it this morning.
avoiding what?
the topic.
Well, yeah, just talking about politics
Yeah.
and we're even discussing whether or not you can have a Christian nation. What is that thing? Like, what's the role of the kingdom of God in relationship to the kingdoms of the world? It was just, there was such a tenderness in the questions that were asked in the room about, okay, how does this actually play out? I don't know. I've just been sort of sitting with it, and when I have conversations with people, and they're asking, "Hey, so what are you guys going through?" And we're saying, "Well, here's kind of the stuff we did last week." It's surprising.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. So I feel very blessed, honored, privileged, to be a part of our community.
Well, and
having these sorts
also,
of
like, I think
conversations.
it would be really edifying /
Good
surprising
Bible word.
for people to actually listen from other other communities, because it's not what, I don't think it's what people would think in terms of like
Politics.
It's not
Right. I
partisan.
hope not.
And I mean,
Right,
you're
right,
doing a really great job of leading us through,
Yeah.
things that are specific about the kingdom of God and how that plays out in the political arena as we know it, and
I hope so. That's our
I mean,
goal,
like,
right? With
I'm
everything.
pretty sure by the end of this series, almost everyone will have some sort of discomfort, which
Right.
is probably a good thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if
Yeah.
that's true, then how great is that? I mean,
Yeah.
the Bible shouldn't just confirm all of our predetermined
Right.
biases. So how
What?
great?
What?
I know. Dang it.
Dang it.
Kevin, you had, per usual, your class. What
I
were some of the big topics that sort of came out of that? And then what are some of the things that came up in the text line?
I didn't know where we were going because you had your Bible open. So I was.
Well, I
like,
was assuming we were going to deal with
See, I'm not the
sword.
only one thrown
Somewhat
off by the Bible
the
being
sword-
open on
somewhat
the table.
confused by that.
Okay, hold on.
No. All right.
Okay, wheat. Mashbill,
What are the
wheated mash.
questions?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. This sounds like something Kevin would like. What kind of still is it? It's a pot still. A
pot.
So there you go,
There it
ladies and
is.
gentlemen. We got layers upon layers.
Layers upon layers. I think part of the conversation, what ends up happening in the conversation is we'd like to take it to the extremes. Like, so if am I supposed to be a pacifist? Am I supposed to be against all violence? Against, I mean, it takes on these
Extreme scenarios.
Yeah. So somebody breaks into my house and they're going to shoot my family and I had the means by which to stop them. Am I allowed?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think you are. I mean, there's something to protecting innocence and protecting those that can't protect themselves. That's a real deal. And I think the struggle for us is we hear the words of Jesus where he says, you will suffer. Well, I don't want to. Mm-hmm. So how do we get around that? Or we follow a God who took on flesh, dwelt among us, and went to a cross.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do any of those things. And I get that. I don't want to do any of those things. But it seems to be part of the package deal of following
He seemed to be pretty clear on this one.
I would think so.
Well, and
take up your cross and follow me.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Well, I have a friend that bothers me all the time. That's my cross.
Right.
No.
It's not one of us.
Anyway, the other thing that came up in the class was didn't God in the Old Testament use power?
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Power over.
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk about it in the second gathering at all? Mm-mm. But that was part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, is God allowed to do power over?
Absolutely.
I would give him power over every time.
Yeah.
Like, if you're into it, go for it, right?
Yeah.
But we have a tendency to wield power over for our own benefit.
Right.
One of the questions was, if power over is working, why stop? Mm-hmm. Well, who's it working for? Mm-hmm. It's working for the person with the power, not the person subjected to the power.
Right.
So anyway, those are the types of questions and conversations we got into, which I thought was...
Oh, those are great.
Yeah. So...
Yeah. What came in? Do you want to hit any of those? Do you want to hit any of the three that you just mentioned, or are there some on the text line that you were like, huh?
Kevin, what do you think? You spent some time answering a lot of them.
I answered all of them. Well, that's a new one. Would Journey be fairly described as an evangelical church, and does it have any formal affiliation? Nah, we don't. We aren't evangelical. I don't know what we are.
Well, we're evangelical. It depends on what that word means.
In the way Jesus meant it, we are.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
not as a political entity.
One of the things that I think you need to clarify on your chart.
Oh.
Can we put the chart up on the camera? Do you have it on your phone? You can just hold it up.
I carry it around, just adore it.
Well, the chart I'm referring to is the ones where Jesus had access to.
Oh, look at
Jesus
this.
had access to a bunch of different options
Yeah.
on how to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that came up was, what is the natural response of today's culture to respond to getting our way? And I had thoughts on that, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. What is the
Like, how do we
prevailing
respond to it now?
what is the prevailing means by which we engage with power? Basically,
We being
the church.
the church. So
Do you understand the question?
No, are you asking how can we? How should we?
No.
Or what are the ways?
What are we?
Oh.
What are we doing?
Um,
Do you know it? Because
I know what chart you mean.
we could do power over. We could.
No. It's the one that Jesus refused the way of violence, holy warfare.
Yeah,
That one.
that one.
Yeah. Edwin, man, you're such a genius. Thank you.
Isolation.
Isolation, withdrawal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go over that.
Yeah, I think that.
What's not clear about that in terms of how it works today?
Yeah, because I think people would say, and they did say in my class,
Yeah.
well, we should impose something on this culture.
Thank you.
We should be able to impose something on the culture.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah.
Because and I asked the question, well, why should we?
Right?
Because we're right.
And show me exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that'll work.
Yep.
Just
I'm
tell
still
them we're right.
I'm
Yeah.
still looking for the verse that says that's the role of the church.
Yeah, let's impose ourselves on the culture.
So, one of the things we've been saying is, hey, Jesus walked into a world full of culture war, and the stakes were much higher than they are in
I thought you were going to
Democratic
say
America.
Jesus walked into a bar. I'm sorry.
Jesus and 12 disciples walked into a bar. And so Jesus, there were many different perspectives on how it is that we ought to approach the issue of the Roman occupation, which was political and religious. And when you're crucifying thousands of Jews, I mean, this was like the stakes were high.
Yeah.
And so the different options are, there were Jews that expected God to come through a Davidic military messiah, engage in holy warfare. There were zealots who advocated violence. There were Essenes who withdrew and isolated out of their own self-righteousness. The Pharisees thought it was a religious problem, so they had zeal for Torah obedience.
Yep. Tax collectors just joined them.
Absolutely.
Can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. And that was the way of the Sadducees, was that they wanted to be in the room when Rome was making decisions, so they compromised. So Jesus refused the way of holy warfare, the way of violence, withdrawal and isolation, legalistic religious purity, way of political power. And I hope that we can draw pretty straight lines into those options being present today as we live in a culture war type scenario, even though we think the stakes are so high.
So let me ask you a question before you go on.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Jesus's goal was different than ours?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Because he came proclaiming the kingdom,
Right.
against all of those options.
Right.
And so yes, let's do it in two steps. First step is Jesus refused the holy warfare motif. Every time, like Jesus several times quoted portions of the Old Testament and cut them off right at the violent moment against Gentiles. So in Luke 4, when he preaches the year of Jubilee, there's he literally, when you look at the quote that he's quoting from, he cuts off vengeance against the Gentiles. He's here to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And he does that. He does that with the John the Baptist quote about releasing the prisoners. And there's one other place I think he does it. So explicitly repudiates this. The way of violence, obviously, Jesus is allowing himself to be subjected to violence. Yeah. And even predicting his disciples will be subjected to violence as a result of following him. Yeah. To your point.
Yeah.
Jesus prayed directly that his followers would not leave the world.
Right.
But they would stay in it and be protected in the midst of it. Jesus corrected the Torah. Scott McKnight has a great line. The Pharisees taught love of Torah. Jesus taught a Torah of love.
That is a good line.
It is a great summary of the difference. And so, and then the one that's hard for us is Jesus repudiated the way of political power. He was offered it directly by Satan, but he was also offered it by Pilate. At one point, the crowds wanted to make him king by force.
And he could have made himself king.
Absolutely.
This wasn't like it was on the table.
Yeah. And that was the temptation was
Yeah.
you don't have to be king through the cross.
Yeah.
And so it's confusing for us because, there aren't many of us that are sort of moderately following Jesus who are advocating, the way of violence. Although,
You're hedging.
well, I mean, there are enough out there, but I'm talking about sincere Jesus followers. I'm not
Okay.
talking about people who see Christianity as what it is to be American.
Okay.
Like sincere,
Cultural Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that I hope that's obvious to those of us who pay attention to the Gospels, that none of the ways advocated there. But there are so-called Christians who advocate holy warfare. God's
Right.
going to come in Revelation and rapture us out and then kick some butt.
Yeah.
And we've spent some time on that's not the right interpretation of Revelation.
Right.
The way of violence, I mean, storming the Capitol or threatening political violence against enemies. The way of withdrawal. Hey, guys, and so many Christians advocate this. Let's just make Christian schools and have a bunch of Christian kids, and that's the way we'll win over the culture. Yeah. Hey, guys, we need to just be more holy. So let's really focus on being radical disciples for Jesus.
Yeah.
The political power thing. Let's reach for the power of the sword to win the culture war.
Yeah.
And so what I hope we do is we begin to see all of the ways that Jesus and the whole church defined their movement politically, but not in any of those ways, right? That the role of the church in the world wasn't to wield political power. It was to be a counterpoint to the political power wielded by the world,
Right.
And it was to be a love of enemy rather than a violence against enemy sort of organization. And I know we all know this.
No, but it needs to be stated. But the other part of this is that this has been tried over and over and over and over again. Oh, we'll just make the king and the pope the same thing, and we'll make the king the head of the church, and everybody will be Christian. We can just impose.
Or the megachurch pastor on the platform.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We can embrace power over because we're better people.
Yeah.
And we're right, to your point.
Right. But it's do we ever learn from our history?
Well,
That's the question. I
could ask that personally, and the answer is no. But yes, but yeah, that's absolutely right.
Just
that's
look,
absolutely
it's
right.
littered throughout the.
It's interesting though, because we talk about this a lot, how like a lot of times when we want to learn from history, we swing the pendulum way the other side.
I've done that, yeah.
And then you make all the same mistakes that you are railing against, basically.
Yeah.
There's something human about that.
Yeah,
there really is. And God is so gracious and merciful. I mean, he worked through the idolatry of the Israelites. He works through the idolatry of Americans and whatever else.
I think the thing that's really kind of
Dang it.
interesting too is when you look at history though, and you see the good intentions that everything started in, and then like the holiness movement, for example.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like that actually was really cool when it started, and it was for good reasoning, and they did a lot of good and brought a lot of good things about within the church and serving people not in the church. And then it kind of has become something else for a lot of people. I'm not saying everybody in that movement is like that, but it makes you wonder, then what are we going to be subject to? Like, what are we going to be? What do we need to look out for? Yeah. Because we're not sitting here saying that we have it right now. Like we finally figured it out and this is how we're supposed to be. Right. But there's also probably some hidden dangers in the way we're operating too.
Sure. Yeah.
No doubt.
The big thing.
Not probably. There's no doubt.
Yeah. The big thing is, listen, we all would love to see culture be more kind and just and aligned with God's coming kingdom. That's not the issue. The issue is what's the role of the church in bringing that about.
Correct. Yeah.
And the church has branches that offer the same slate of options that Jesus refused.
Yes.
Including political influence. So the hardest part, at least for me, to have wrapped my head around over and over again is when I think of politics, I think of my community embodying what I would love to see in culture. Because the object, and this is a huge theological point to the people who say, well, we're right, and our job is to take over culture. Israel was never commanded to take over Babylon.
No.
The early church was never commanded to take over Rome. We seek the flourishing of where we find ourselves by being the church.
Yep.
And so one thing we are doing right, and I'm not afraid to say this, in our imagination, we're not thinking of state-sponsored coercive power over solutions. And putting our hope in those as a way to configure greater kingdom of Godness in the world.
Right.
We're participating in it, but we're not putting our hope in it.
Correct. And hallelujah, but it almost makes it more dangerous that we can participate in it, because it's easy to think my way is the Christian way.
Right.
On both sides of that spectrum.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
So the thing that is hard, and the thing that I'm really proud of our community with wrestling with, is in a world that has defined political participation in a very binary, clearly defined us versus them sort of way.
Oh yeah.
To wrestle with the upside down nature of the kingdom of Jesus as it's an alternative to all of those other ways of being present in culture. That's really hard. And the natural questions, of course, are, well, what are the exceptions? Right? I mean, we're always looking for the loopholes.
Sure.
What were you going to say?
I was going to ask, so I've had a couple of conversations this week with people trying to understand why there are these movements that are trying to take over the culture.
Yeah.
And I always go back to that whole 7 Mountain Mandate thing.
Right.
And
You want to explain what that is
well,
for people?
I was thinking we could all explain what it is, because I don't know if I can totally explain it
7
right. But
Mountain
it's something that kind of came about not very long ago, from what I understand, right?
I heard the genesis was kind of in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
The Young Life, Bill Bright,
60s.
Crusade.
It was the 60s, yeah.
Yeah, and it's this whole idea that there are 7 pillars of culture that the church is called to take over, basically, right? So
To conquer.
yeah.
Is that what it is? That the language they use?
They would use the word conquer.
Okay, because a softer form of that would be the word influence.
But that's exactly what I'm trying to get at, is that
softer word.
I think that there was this thing that kind of seems extreme, and we associate extremer, versions of Christianity with those things.
Yeah.
But we see it actually like kind of making its way through ripple
Absolutely.
effects through like a lot of what we have all been a part of,
Well, can I throw something in, Kevin, before you chime in?
Of course.
Just real quick, the 7 mountains are education, government, art,
medicine,
Yes.
business, government.
I said government.
Then I will say it again.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there's 7 things, and
There's 7.
If you're
Google
listening,
it.
you can Google it. Yes.
Stock market.
But like there's an organization that
Church.
they'll call it the pillars of influence or cultural influence. That's gathers lots of people every year, and there's but what you're saying, what you were just talking about, reminds me of that, because there is this sense that I think we were given in the faith that we inherited, that we are meant to do that. Like if we had Christians in all of those places, Christians should be the best at all of those things because we have the Holy Spirit in us. That was the line that I was always taught, and to some degree, maybe that's true, but it's not meant to be used to wield power. It's meant to bless.
You want to know them?
Yeah, do it. Punch it.
Religion.
Oh, yeah.
Family. Education.
Of course, family.
Government.
Yeah.
Media. Arts. Entertainment. And business.
Or Seth Erie would say arts and craps.
Well, arts and entertainment are arts and craps.
That's what he calls it. Yeah. Anyway.
That's
Baby
what it
needs
is
a new
when
car.
That's what it is when I try to do it.
Yeah, I need a 7. I need a 7.
Mama needs a new car. Well, the justification for all of those, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like the justification for all of those is evangelism. And so to me, all of that traces back to how we've misunderstood the Great Commission. Do you agree with that? Or would you?
Yes, but they were under I think, a poor theology of end times. They were post-millennialists that came up with this.
Yeah, because that's part of it, right?
They think they can usher in
the
the holiness piece of it is if we can. It's what the
Well,
Israelites
it's
thought.
the Pharisees.
Yeah,
If
it's
we
what the
can
Israelites.
just be holy enough.
Yeah, it's the same idea. That would bring the end of
Right.
history, and Jesus will come back.
Yeah, it's almost like they took all the stuff from the
good.
holiness movement and decided, oh, we should pay attention to the world, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's great insight.
That's the theology of
Because I've always
end times. Yeah.
thought
It influences a lot, actually.
Yeah, the dispensationalist thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that we can trace a lot back. I was thinking of, how much abuse and awfulness in the church is justified in the name of evangelism.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of, well, if we just have, is the justification for that? If we just have enough Christians in positions of influence, then people will become Christian.
Yeah.
And if that's, did you guys ever read James Davidson Hunter's book where he argues for faithful presence, where he argues that positions at the top never ever
Influence the whole.
it never influence the whole for lasting change.
Right.
It's always from the bottom up.
Yep.
And he spends hundreds of pages on this conclusion.
Yep.
And he says the role of the church is faithful witness. And I resonate with that so very much. Because I look at how Jesus did it. Jesus did not identify 7 pillars of culture, nor did Paul. And Paul was so sophisticated in terms of media and...
Well, and he didn't place himself at the top.
No, never.
He placed himself
he
clearly
always
at the
introduced
bottom.
himself
Yeah.
as a slave.
Yeah.
As a manual laborer.
Yeah.
So that's so good, guys. So I think there's a lot here that, I think it would be really interesting for people to read the book of Acts as a counterpoint to this. Just Luke Acts.
Yeah.
And go, okay, how were they changing culture?
That's a good word.
And there are times they submit to the government.
Yeah.
Paul says, hey, I'm a Roman citizen, guys.
Yeah. And I need your help.
Yep.
I need your power over here
Yes.
for a minute.
But then there are
Yeah.
7 accusations against Paul that he's preaching another king other than Caesar. And so it's this weird sort of exile identity that he's carrying in, but it's not power over and it's not top of the food chain influence.
Right.
It's from the very bottom.
And this is what pushes people to the other extreme. They lose hope. They can't change it, and then you get people who move into you lived in Ohio. I lived in Pennsylvania. I don't know if they have them out in California, but there's Amish people that have said
No, not in California.
We're out.
we're out.
Yeah, we have hippies.
We're not just out on
We're out on everything.
Yeah.
right. And in Pennsylvania, you get to know some of them, right?
Yeah.
And in talking with them, it doesn't. You can protect your kids from all of the stuff of the world.
Yeah.
And you know what? They still rebel.
What?
Yeah.
They still do what they want to do.
That would have been the homeschool culture where
Yeah,
I was
right.
from.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
Yeah.
all homeschooling is bad, but there was a big part
If
of the
I can
culture.
just protect my kids from
And,
all of
yeah.
this stuff, and a lot of it's just not true. It's in human nature to rebel. Anyway.
Well, we didn't
So-
get to the Luke.
Yeah, I was gonna
So I was
say,
going to do
you-
the sword. I was going to do the sword
Okay,
passage. We can
'cause-
do that next week.
Okay.
Sword.
But I just want to end with Willet Pot Still Reserve Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey.
Oh,
These people need to learn either acronyms or really short, because that's dumb. Hey guys, I love Willet Pot Still Reserve Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, please.
That's a big label.
47% ABV,
good?
94 proof.
how many martini glasses?
Just one.
Oh,
Undisclosed mash. Pot still for you.
okay.
Age statement, none of your damn business. NAS.
I have a clarifying question. Why does the Bourbon Bible have martini glasses for its rating? Because you don't drink bourbon from a martini glass.
You know?
Is it a martini
The great
glass?
mysteries
You know?
of life.
Yes.
Let me see the glass.
Well,
Sure Mike knows what Mike
know what a martini glass is?
yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Usually it's a
Heresy.
vodka martini.
Heresy.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Usually vodka and martinis.
So Coors Light,
But I suppose you,
sunshine and snow.
yeah, and shaken and not stirred. Have
it
a
is.
great day.
Edwin, you're so-
Thanks for listening to this episode of Journey Now. If for some bizarre reason you liked it, help us spread the word by leaving a review and sharing it on your socials. Journey Now is a production of Journey Church in Brentwood, Tennessee. Edwin Rivera III produces the show and fixes all the guest slurping, gum chewing, coughing, and other annoying sounds. Randy Hansen provides technical assistance even though he denies it. Grant Opperman edits Journey Now and intervenes when necessary to tell the crew that you can't say that. Special shout out to dear listener Brad Erie and dear YouTube watcher Seth Erie. If there's anyone else who makes it through each week, we're so sorry, and thanks to you too.